couple of days after this, President Trump did indeed announce that he was running for president. As you can see on the date there, November 15th, 2022. And then the very next day, and we've referenced this a second ago, but we're going to go back to it.
This helps you develop legislation. How?
The very next day, there was a conversation between Mr. Wade. I'm sorry, there was an 8-hour, was described here as an interview with D.C. and the White House.
Interview with who?
It reads interview D.C./White House. It's
Okay.
it's on the screen.
Answered. They said that they had.
No, I'm laying a foundation here, Governor.
Don't answer yet. Let me listen to the question.
On November 18th, the very same day as this 8-hour phone call with the White House, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed Special Counsel Jack Smith. And around that same period of time, some news reports say the same day, but we know within 2 weeks of that time, Matthew Colangelo, who is the former third highest ranking official at DOJ, tendered his resignation to take a position in the Manhattan prosecutor's office, which would go on to also indict President Trump.
He committed crimes in a lot of places.
And convicted by the jury of his peers.
And you
So-
know,
so
you all
on
want to,
November-
no,
on
this is
November-
very
on
important.
November
You all want to intimidate people from doing the right thing, and you think that you're going to intimidate me. You all have been trying to intimidate me for 5 years, which is why I have not been able to live in my house for 5 years, because the N-word has been written on my house. Thousands of threats have come to my office, and instead of doing some legislation,
Madam
when
Chair,
someone,
we're just trying to get
when
you here
someone
to
says
testify
something
before the committee.
inflammatory that you know is going to cause them to be the victims of crime, you ought to do something about it. But you see, I'm not Marjorie Taylor Greene. I ain't gonna quit in a month because somebody threatens me. I took an oath to do the right thing. People came into my community and committed a crime, and I indicted them. And rest assured, if someone else comes in my community and commits a crime, I will indict them again.
The Special Purpose Grand Jury released its report just under a month after this time frame on December 15th of 2022.
And said 39 people should be indicted, but in my discretion and looking at the evidence that was the most damning, I chose to only present an indictment to the grand jury of 19. And who knew? The citizens of Fulton County, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, non-politicals, all said these 19 people deserve to be indicted, and they were.
The question was, the Special Purpose Grand Jury released its report just under a month after this phone call between Mr. Wade and the White House, just a month after, on the very same day, Jack Smith was appointed by Merrick Garland, and just a month after the third-ranking member of the Department of Justice left the Department of Justice to go work for Alvin Bragg, that date being December 15th, 2022. Is that the date that the Special Purpose Grand Jury released its report?
I don't recall.
Yes, don't answer that. And let me tell you.
You don't recall? Does that?
She said she did not recall. And to try to, everybody's a crook in your mind. Jack Smith.
Well, there were some crooks.
Well, I know, but
They were on the indictment.
So you reference your prosecutorial discretion and bringing these charges. I believe you say 50. You were talking kind of fast there. Was it 50 that you
I
said?
said that the grand jury recommended that 19 people be indicted. It's there. It's part of public record. What I did was look at all of the evidence against each of those persons, and I chose to only put forth an indictment that talked about the 19 most culpable. Those 19 were presented to a grand jury.
I just want to
that
clarify.
grand
You said
jury,
19 twice. I just want to clarify your testimony.
19 people were indicted.
Originally, how many were recommended? You said 19 for both. of those. That's what
39
I'm
were
getting.
recommended, 19 were presented.
How many of the electors, there were 16 electors here in the Capitol that cast votes for President Trump, is that correct?
I object. They were not electors.
There were
You
six.
talking about the fake electors that y'all sat in a hearing and listened to, many of y'all?
In this same room?
I was not in the room, but I'm referencing there were 16 electors who took part in that meeting. Is that your understanding?
Why are you not offended that people came before you and lied?
Were there 16 electors?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Okay. How many did you indict?
What does this have to do with you developing legislation? Because this is not relevant, so I'm going to object relevance.
Where are we going? I thought this was supposed to be.
I thought y'all needed some help.
I thought it was supposed to be about rules of conduct. And so now you're getting into where the electors met here and they weren't really electors, and how many of them got indicted, and why did you do that?
We're here for far more.
Wait just a minute.
We're here for far more than rules of conduct.
Process on why she chose to do so. It was presented to 2 grand juries. They returned an indictment on one because an investigative grand jury cannot indict, it can only investigate. And so, how is this to do with the conduct and legislation? I'm amazed that everybody's fixated that the election was fixed 5 years ago.
We'll come back to this. We'll move on for a second.
All right, let's move on for a good bit, maybe a half hour.
Well, we'll see what you think of this next line of questioning, Governor. In January of 2021, you referenced his name earlier, but you hired Jeff DeSantis to be the Deputy District Attorney overseeing the Media Relations Unit of the District Attorney's Office. Is that correct?
And strategy.
Media Relations and Strategy. Can you describe the difference between those two separate roles, or are you just saying that's the title?
That's the title.
It's the title. Okay. Was he serving in your office in April of 2021?
Yes.
Okay. He's classified those in ADA for personnel purposes.
He is a lawyer.
Yes,
He went to
works.
Emory Law School. Was there 2 years ahead of me and graduated. He's my elder.
That's not hard for me.
When you're referencing media relations, how would you describe the overall role of media relations?
This has nothing, I don't read about media relations in any of these resolutions. It's beyond the scope.
This is within the scope of the state's funding to that department.
Not
To
a
that.
question about who's the director of media relations.
I didn't ask I'm asking what the role of media relations is.
Neither is that. Don't answer it. I instruct you not to answer. Completely irrelevant.
Your objection is relevance.
No, my objection is the reason she hired and the reason that she has hires and fires employees, and the reason that she undertakes to run her office is a matter of employees, which is exempted and is privileged and is a deliberative process.
So you are asserting that the role of a media relations director is privileged?
You can move on.
You want clarity on that, Counselor?
So you're instructing the witness
I'm
not to
gonna-
answer on
I'm
the relevance?
instructing.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just trying to understand what the objection
I stated my
is.
objection. Where's the court report? Here's the court report.
It would help if you, Governor, respectfully, it would help if the objections could be limited to like 5 to 10 seconds. I mean, I don't need a speaking objection.
I talk slow.
I'll give you 30 seconds, but it's
I
counted
talk
by
slow,
words,
and
Governor.
I'm a country lawyer, and it's real hard for me to get things done. It is beyond the scope of the resolution, number
Okay.
one.
All right, can we break and address that? If
I'm going to
please.
state my objection. I mean, I'm not here.
That's fine, we'll do it all together.
I'm not here
I'm just trying to understand.
I'm not here to debate you.
I'm not trying to debate,
I
Governor.
think he's just looking for clarity on your objection, Governor.
Well, it's beyond the scope.
Okay.
Irrelevant, and the decisions she makes on personnel are not subject to inquiry.
All right, on the beyond the scope, I'm sorry. Oh, I can do that, I guess. Is that me?
It's on.
Oh, it's on?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you hear him?
I know I'm not going to convince you, but